Let's take a look at the type of data types that we can use in Kusto, but let's just define what scalar and data types are. So scalars are quantities that are fully described by a magnitude or numerical value alone. So the idea is that it just means like a single value. Then you have data types, and a data type defines how a piece of data is interpreted. So an integer number could be a data type. If you've ever used programming languages like data types and stuff like that, or an SQL database, you should be familiar with those. So in Kusto, data types are used for various things. So they can be for columns or function parameters that expect specific data types that they want them to be. And so let's just go through the quick list of data types because there are quite a few here, and I've summarized them quickly. So the first is Boolean, and this represents a true or false value. Then you got date times or date, and this represents a date. And these are stored in UTC time zones. You got decimals. These are numbers that like are 12.88 or something with a decimal in them. You have integers, which is like a whole number. Then you have longs, which are also integers, but with a greater range. You have your GUIDs or your UIDs, and these are unique values. So it's like a random hash there that you have. And the idea is just so that you have unique values, but they're not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so people can't guess the size of your tables. Then you have reals. These are double precision floating point numbers. So these are really, really big numbers, something you probably use if you're doing things with finance or numbers. Then you have strings, and these are Unicode strings, and they're limited by default to 1 megabyte. And the way you do them is you have them wrapped in quotations. We have that hello world. You have time spans. These are interesting. These are little time intervals represented. So like 2D would equal 2 days, 30M would equal 30 minutes, 1 tick would equal 100 nanoseconds, and they have a variety of those. Then you have dynamic, and this is a special type that can do a bunch of things. So it can accept primitive scalar data types. So the idea is it's kind of like a data type that can accept any value, or it can accept an array of any value, or it can accept a property bag, which, if you're from the JavaScript world, looks like a JSON object. So you have a key and value, and it can even be nested. And then last, which is a data type, but you're not setting these as your columns, which is the null. And that's a special value that represents a missing value. And any of these data types can be a null value. So like you look at Boolean, it can be true, false, or null. And date time can be a date time or date or null. And that goes for all of them.